am so excited to have you guys here for Getting the Right People in the Right Seats webinar. And I'll be the first to introduce this amazing, brilliant woman right next to me. This is Chris Byrne, and she is not only one of our amazing coaches, but she's a member of my traction team. She's like half of my brain. I just sent her a text this morning. I'm like, it's a lot harder to be a coach than I thought, so she is on here because she will keep us on the rails tonight. And I know that you will enjoy her. And if you meet any of the ACT coaches, you'll see they're very, very special people. So we're a coaching company, if you guys don't know, and we coach practices all over the country. And this is all we do. We listen to dentists every day with the challenges they have. And so many of them are crushing it. And then we're meeting new ones that we got to get them organized and get them ready to go. And we love it. So if you're tuning on here and you're like, I don't know what to do, heck, just schedule a call and we're here to help you in any way that we can. And I love just listening to the stories. Those are what inspire me the most. And it's really fun. And I'll start with a quick story, Chris. Today I interviewed Kevin Groth, who you coached through the whole process, and Renee, and they talked about a healthy associateship, what really went into it. And I just told them both, I'm like, I'm so proud of you guys. You're like 10 years ahead of everybody else. And everybody's in this place where we're trying to figure out how to create a better practice, a better life. And today we're going to share with you one of the most difficult. I'm just going to tell you up front, this is probably the most important work you'll ever do. And it's the hardest. So somebody should do a parenting webinar for me. Like, hey, get ready. Do you want to be a dad? I would go, yes. Get ready for the hardest thing you're ever going to do. Or, because but the cool part is that if you get a few tools and stick to a couple fundamentals, for the most part, you're going to be all right. And so we'll show you tonight what the best do, how it works. And I really enjoy questions. So Chris will man the chat, and then you'll see Chris is going to chime in because she does this work with our practices every single day. And I do too, not to the level she does. And we're just here to help. So, and I actually really love even a good debate. So if you have a difficult question, toss it in there. I certainly don't ever want to be right during these things. I just want to share with you what we've learned, sometimes the hard way, and tell you we're in this boat with you. There are some things I don't know the answers to, and I'm going to tell you up front, I don't. And I, like you, am working on it as a leader. And but there are lessons that we always come back to. So, Chris, anything you'd add before we go ahead and jump into it?
I think you're absolutely right. We tend to, especially if we're working in an office, in a dental office, we're with our dental team members for so much during the day and really close too. And so having the right people in the right seats just makes every other decision so much easier, because we hear it all the time. And we were just sharing this morning about, we've got certain ideas of what we want to talk about when we get on a call with our doctors, because they have told us what their goals are and what they want to accomplish in our time coaching them. And almost every week, and I can speak not just for myself, I know Angela's on too, that we often will get, we'll get on the call with the doctor, and it almost always goes to a team issue. I want to talk about this, or I want to talk about that. And so if we can have that done, then we can accomplish so much more of the goals and the priorities that the doctor wants to accomplish.
Absolutely. Hey, Ange is on. So let's jump into it. What do you think? You ready? Can you hear me? Oh, you're on mute. Okay.
I can hear you. Yeah,
all right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. And again, Angela is on here. She's another one of our amazing coaches, and they'll man the feed. And if at any point you just feel like, hey, I just need somebody to talk to because this is harder than I want to get my brain around, we're always here to schedule a call, help you in any way. But let's go ahead and jump into it now. Tonight, our webinar will probably go about 45 minutes or so. We'll stick around for questions. I did a 2-hour detailed masterclass on this, like steps. And I actually even have a Google sheet for a people analyzer, and you can find that in ActU. If you haven't joined ActU, I'm going to encourage you, just show up there and you're going to see it's a very detailed approach. So I'm going to give you the big picture, and a lot of the components you're going to find tonight extremely valuable. But if you want to go into the weeds and get into the details, you can find the rest of it over there. Now, one order of business, I'm just going to encourage you. I love community. I don't know where the heck I'd be without great community or great friends or great anything. And we started this in the COVID conference last year, and I had no idea the legs on it and how far it would go and who we would meet. But over 13,000 of you signed up in the Facebook group. And so I'm just crazy grateful. And what it ends up being more than anything is just dentists helping dentists and team members asking really legitimate, good questions. I mean, so it's pretty cool. And so if you're looking for a community and you haven't joined the best practices at Act Dental over at Facebook, just join us over there. You'll see the conversation always continues. But let's go ahead and jump into this. And 25 years of doing this, so I'll just give you guys a little background. This is all I've ever done really professionally. I mean, before working at Applebee's in college, so I got this job, and actually I worked in the dental laboratory for a while, and it was a great time. And then I got this unique opportunity at the age of 24 to start coaching dental practices. And one of my first assignments was to fly down, and I actually went to this course. I can't even remember. I've got all the manuals for it. Probably 6 or 7 times I went to this course. It was called How to Put Your Practice in the Top 10%. Now, I remember being 24, going to see a 64-year-old dentist thinking, I don't want to see this. I don't, what the heck is a 64-year-old dentist going to teach me? Because I'm 24. Because in your 20s, you got it all figured out. Then you turn 30 and you realize, man, there's a lot I don't know. And then 40, you wonder if you know anything. And so one of my favorite things in getting to know this great man named Peter Dawson, and unfortunately we lost him recently at the age of 89. I'll never forget this. One of the most important lessons he ever taught me, and I can still see his eyes when he said it. He said, Kirk, you need to understand, when you have the right people, you can produce twice as much in half the time with a quarter of the stress. Now, if you ever knew Pete, he wasn't about the money. He was about the people and doing it the right thing. And another thing I'll never forget, as long as he lived, and as long as I live, is he would say, money's the byproduct. No, you get the right people in the right seats, or you do dentistry for the right reasons and the right people. Kirk, any dentist can make plenty of money, and they'll never have to worry about money because they'll be creating so much value. And I found that to be absolutely true. And the clients that we coach, I find the ones that really care about what they do, they always do extremely well. The ones that just need money, I worry about them because it's the money that's the focus and it's not the people. Let me help you if there's anything I've learned. The secret to dentistry, and if I took Chris with me and Angela with me, and we went on a national tour of dental schools, and I said, Chris, Ange, you can only say one tip, and then we got to run out and we're going to go to the next dental school. I think all 3 of us would stop and go, hey, you're walking in the greatest profession ever, but here's my one tip. Find the greatest people ever. Find the right people, put them in the right seats. You'll be good for the rest of your life. See ya. Good luck to you. Now, you know how this is. If you're listening to this tonight, I hope you have a glass of wine and you're relaxing. And hopefully today wasn't too tough. But when you find the right chairside assistant, it changes your life, not in a month, but in about a minute. In 1 minute, you're thinking, oh my gosh, she says to you, or he says to you, get out of here. I can do this. And you go, what? Where have you been my whole life? And now you can go do something else that your energy is best served with. Or if you have the right administrative person, they can change the financial landscape of your entire life in 30 days. They can say to you, and we have team members that we coach in offices, and when we talk to them, they go, yeah, I raised his fees. He doesn't know. And I'm like, when are you going to tell him? She'll go, never. And then I'll talk to the dentist and go, it's crazy, man. We're making money. I don't know. It's crazy, because they value it more than he does sometimes. Or when you find the right hygienist, you walk in there and you go, oh, what is going on today? Their patient's already asking good questions. The patient already knows that they have active perio. They're asking about what the next step would be. And you're like, oh my goodness. When you find the right people, but here's the key. people always ask us, how do you find the right people? Well, you don't. They find you for the most part. Now, it's not as easy as that, and I'm going to explain. But you want to set the conditions up as much as you can in your practice that you have the right people and the right seats. Let me say that again. These people are not wandering the universe going, who can I bless today with my talents? No, they're smarter than you are. They know they're an excellent chairside assistant, and they know they can pick where they work. They want to pick someplace or somebody who they feel like gets me. And one other thing I'll say is this, please write this down. Nobody ever quits a dental office. They quit a person. Okay, so if you ever lose somebody, it wasn't because they didn't like your office. They left somebody. And so it happens, and it happens to everybody. And I want to remind you, all of us are on this journey. My game is one thing. I just want to create the best conditions I can to attract the best people and put them in the right places, the right seats, and then get out of their way and let go of the vine and let them do what they do. Now, easier said than done. And Chris and I and Angela walk you through these steps. But I want you to take a screenshot of this particular slide, because dentists and any business only really experiences 4 conditions when it comes to hiring people. Your people are your greatest asset. You know, young dentists try to tell them they're thinking CBCT, they're thinking all, and I'm like, no. Let's invest in people first. We got to find the right people. Let's get that going first, because that'll pay dividends for a long time. And when you invest in people, you're going to see this. Doing this as long as you have, if you've been doing this for 30 years, you know this is true. There's 4 conditions. Here they are. I'm trying to advance my slides and I can't. Oh, okay. Hold on one second. There it is. And my wife is having her girlfriends over. So if you hear a lot of giggling downstairs, that's what's going on. Okay. So number 1, you can have the wrong person in the wrong seat. That's one thing. The second thing you can have is you can have the wrong person in the right seat. And let me explain both of these. The wrong person, the wrong seat, somebody you hire and you're just like, I don't know, where's the person I interviewed? This just isn't working out. They don't fit your core values, which this person isn't your type of person. Doesn't make them bad. They're just not your kind of person. And they're not doing their job very well or at all. You know, so that would be characterized wrong person, wrong seat. You might have the wrong person in the right seat, and that happens a lot, where you have an amazing blank. You have an amazing hygienist. She's awesome. She sells dentistry all day long. Her perio numbers are unbelievable. What she does technically, off the charts, but she's the wrong person. She doesn't fit my core values. She doesn't play well with others. She is on a one-person team. It's her own team. And everybody has challenges with this person. I've been there. And if you're like me and you've been clinically diagnosed as a wuss, you don't do anything about it because you think she's so good at what she does. I can tolerate this for a little bit longer. The truth of it is, can't, because she's slowly or he's slowly destroying the organization one step at a time. And you know this to be true when you've had the day, and I've had this day, where somebody stops you in the hallway and goes, okay, today's the day. And you go, for what? What's today? And they go, it's me or her. And you go, what? She goes, yeah, it's me or her. Can't do it anymore. That woman up there cannot talk to me like this anymore. This is where I work. I refuse to be treated like that from another human being. Now, you don't do anything because you're like me and you're a wuss. So you panic and you don't do anything. And what it does is it creates a bigger problem. And the problem goes on and on and on. So you want to be clear, or I want to be clear, that these problems are not the person at the front. It's you that's the problem. Because the more consistent you are, the healthier things will be. And I've learned that the hard way. The third condition you can have, which is a very real one, is you have the right person, but they're in the wrong seat. They are totally your jam. They fit your core values, and man, you couldn't have better conversations or more energy going back and forth between 2 human beings, but they're just not that organized at the front desk. They just don't know how to ask for money, or they're afraid to book patients at the right time for you. you've seen this where you have great people, but they don't have the skill set to excel in the job, and it happens. Now, usually, most every case, and I do mean most every case, there's a role for that person in which they can use their unique ability to benefit everybody. The fourth condition is what we all want, which is you got the right person and they're in the right seat. Now, as you assess your team right now, let's say you have 11 people or even 6 people, you're like, you've already done the analysis. 2 out of 6 are in the right people in the right seats. Totally fit your core values. And man, they're good at what they do. Here's what condition number 4 is. You never worry about them. You never think about them. You honestly don't even know you love them and you just don't think about them. And you don't think of them in a bad way, like you love them. All of your brain power, all of your angst, all of your challenges, all of your stress that you experience comes from condition 1 and 2. Sometimes from condition 3, but mostly 1 and 2. And if you're like me, you get older, you let these things boil up and you don't have a great coach, you talk to yourself, and then your 13-year-old son will say to you, Dad, your lips are moving again. And I say to my son, you could see that? Yeah. And he goes, actually, there's words coming out now. So it's very important to understand you have a responsibility as a business owner to create conditions where I can help people succeed here. And for the most part, we're growing and developing people into condition 4 or condition 3 as best we can. Now, I want to say this if you're a team member watching. I say this. I would give every single team member the benefit of the doubt. Team members are not bad. As a matter of fact, most of the team members you have, they're excellent. They're unbelievable. They want to win in your office. But just as an entrepreneur, we haven't created enough clarity on how they can succeed. I think one of the things you should do when you hire people is ask them this question. Do you want to do well here? Like, do you want to win? And if they say no, that's a bad hire. But if they say yes, you can say, let me show you how you can succeed here. And these are the rules or expectations. And when you meet these expectations or exceed them, I'm going to tell you, you're going to be killing it here. So let's get into it a little bit more. But there's another fundamental problem at play that's really important to discuss with dentists is this. You as a dentist, you go to Spear, you go to the Seattle Study Club Symposium, you go to Coyce, you go to Dawson, you go to Pankey, and you come back and you're like, man, that's awesome. So cool. Like, that's how I want my practice. And you've been exposed to the best stuff ever. And you come back and you talk to your team. And you're like, I told them that's how I want my practice. And they look at you like, we don't even understand the language you're speaking. And they say to themselves, just calm down. Like, we'll just keep them busy or keep her busy and distracted till Wednesday, and they'll completely forget like what they even said. The fundamental problem that most dentists make is they see their vision clearly. The problem is that they make the mistake of thinking everybody else in the organization or practice sees it too. We used to do in-person launches in a group setting, and it was so fun when Chris and Angela and I did it. We would sequester the doctors and the team members, and it was the same thing every time. What's wrong in your practice? And they would go, the doctors would go, they don't get it. Like, I've told them a million, it was always this, right, Chris? It was a lot of pointing. And then, as you can imagine, we're in the other room with the team members. What's the problem? Like, he comes in and says it's like 9. We don't even know what he's talking about. Like, we don't even understand the language he or she's using. So you can see there's a fundamental gap in what's said and what's heard, right, Chris? Anything you would add? Because you get to see this firsthand.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we tend to think that we're being clear when we're not being clear. And I've had that for myself, even where I've said I couldn't have been clearer. And then it dawns on me like, duh, yes, I could have, because they're not getting what I'm trying to say. So yes.
So if there's one tip I could give you tonight, I'll always give you a couple tips, but the more clear you are, the less problems you have. Just the more clear your organization is, the less problems you have. So we have to make sure that we're clear. And a big part of the clarity is the people part. Patrick Lencioni says in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, it's my favorite quote in the entire book. And I absolutely believe this to be true. If you can get all the people in any organization or an organization rowing in the same direction, you could dominate any industry. You really could. You could open a sandwich shop and you could beat any competition at any time. But the question is, like, how do we do that? And so we're going to do that tonight. One more nugget I'll give to you is people always say, well, I have this vision. I have this vision. One of my favorite books, this is kind of my book of the year, and Chris knows this and the rest of me. I love the book Traction. So if you're looking for a great read, just read Traction. It's excellent, I think. And what that book said on vision hit me in the heart because it's true. And so if you answer 8 questions, this will help clarity with your vision. I've seen some of the best visions ever. I've seen 4 and 5 page written long explanations that are gorgeous. But if I was working in the office, I don't know that I would know exactly what all this means. So here are 8 questions. Number 1, what are your core values? We're going to talk about that tonight. Those are the non-negotiable behaviors or fundamental decision-making things that we use in our practice every single day. What's your core focus? What do you do? I know you're a dentist, but what are you really good at? What is your focus? What's your 10-year target? Do you want to practice on your own? Do you want to practice with another dentist? Do you want a big practice? Do you want a small practice? What does this look like 10 years from now for you? What's your marketing strategy? How are you connecting with new patients and creating that flow in your practice? What's your 3-year picture? You know, if you and I had a cup of coffee 3 years from now and you say, I love this, what would you say would have to happen in order for you to use that phrase with me? And what's your 1-year plan? And then what are your quarterly rocks? And this is what we do as a coaching team. I'll just tell you is like figuring out the big puzzle and what's important to you. That's a tough task. And you do need the help of somebody, but then breaking it down into small pieces so that all of us can go to work on a few pieces per quarter is absolutely critical. And then you're going to have issues come up. I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but I say this to everybody almost every day, all the time. One of my favorite things is I have my backpack. I come in every day with my backpack and I pull out 2 things. The first thing I pull out is a spiral notebook. It's my journal. It's what happened yesterday. It's my conversations. It's what matters. It's ideas that I have, things I want to get done. I have it in one place because as I get older, it's got to get out of here and into here because if it stays up here, it makes me crazy. The second thing I have is a clear sheet like this. On the front is my 1-page strategic plan. It's everything we're doing for this year. It's all of these things broken down into bite-sized chunks. Chris will tell you firsthand, I used to think 92 things were important. And my list would be 92 because you know how this works. As an entrepreneur, you think everything's important. Well, it's not. It's better to do 4 things really well in the next 13 weeks than it is to try to do 92 things and switch gears every morning huddle. I used to do that in every morning huddle. Guys, I got an idea. And I thought I was blessing them with my unique ability, which is ideas. And after a while, they're like, stop. So now they say, stick to the paper. So Chris, you've been in these meetings. What do you think?
You are better. I will say you're better. Kirk will come in and just drop an idea and then he's on to the next idea. And we're like, what just happened here? I think that in my 6.5 years of working with you that I probably said that, especially in the first 3 to 4 years, almost every week, like, what just happened here?
Oh, yeah, because I'm looking at every webinar, I'm watching everything. I see great ideas, and they're called squirrels. I'm like, that's awesome. That is awesome. And half the time I speak in broken sentences. You know, it goes like this, and you put it in there, you press a button. You guys figure that out. I'm out. I got to go, and I would jump on a plane.
Having the plan is what is the game changer because it's, we may think like, oh yeah, it's a plan, but what it does is it creates accountability. So when Kirk comes and says, oh, I got this thing, we all feel 100% confident that we can say to Kirk, hey, Kirk, that's a great idea. And I think I just did this to you earlier today, Kirk. Let's put that on the agenda for next quarter.
Darn it.
In fact, just an hour ago, I said that to you.
Yeah. So our quarter ends March 31st, which is my birthday. April 1st, I get to decide what we go after next. So I'm hoping that helps you. But here's the thing. This is my real point. Your team needs simplicity. Simplicity is not easy. It's actually the opposite. It's difficult. You have to distill what's really important to you, and your team is dying. They're dying to help you accomplish 3 things. And that, my friends, is the mark of an excellent team. When you can say, we did it. And you can celebrate with them, and you can get into a pattern of celebrating with them every 13 weeks. Now, the thing you want to be careful of is this. The bottleneck is never at the bottom. So I want to get your thinking right as we dissect this here in the next 20 minutes. You're going to be quick to say, oh, Kirk, I get that. I understand all this, but you don't understand where I practice. There's no good people out there. No. There's a lot of good people out there. They're just not working in your practice yet. Does that make sense? It starts with you. And so I want to make you better. And the other thing I want to share with you, this is tip number one, is I believe strongly that 80% of your problems exist in the absence or in your function accountability chart. Now, let me share with you. I showed you the front. The back is this. Here's what the tip is tonight. Please write this down. I want to know who does what in your practice. No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I want to see it. And your team members want to see it too. So I have this. This is my function accountability chart. Everybody knows who does what. What it does is it creates clarity. And that is a big challenge in every place. You know, people often talk about like marital stress. Everyone knows that the number one marital stress is financial, but most people don't know what the number two marital stress is. It's division of labor. Couples get in trouble saying, I thought you were going to do this. I thought you were going to do this. When it's everyone's job, it's nobody's job. Now, I can't speak about the marital things. I've got a marriage and I love it. And I'm working on all that. But I do know this: in a business, you've got to clearly delineate and outline who does what. Now, I don't care if you do it by functions or departments. You got to do it somehow. And I'm going to encourage you to take a screenshot of this. This was from Dr. Behrendt, who is a great team member of ours and a dentist in Port Washington. And this was his take on it. I don't care what your take is. It's your take. And this is one of those components. I don't have the answer. I really don't. You have to look at an envelope with your name on it and go, that makes sense to me. Now you can say to yourself, and your team can say, who does what? It clears up the challenges. Now, here's how you use it. When things aren't working, you have to ask yourself, who's responsible for that seat? And so we have to do one of two things. We either have to give them the support and the training and the know-how to do the job. And when we've done everything we can and they can't do the job, then we have to evaluate, is that the right person for the right seat? Then and only then can you do that. So the function accountability chart is the first part. Another piece of this is to understand there's only so many functions in the practice. When you create it, there's not 19 different verticals. There's only a maximum of 7 in any business. I would say there's 3 or 4 in a dental practice. So let's break this down a little bit more. As your company grows or as your practice grows, you're going to constantly evolve and change. I make changes to this thing probably once every 2 weeks because there's responsibilities. There's also people I'm going to outsource to. We are going to outsource some marketing things. Make sure every function in your practice. Here's why I'm telling you this. You can't even start the journey of the right person, the right seats, until you get the seats right. You got a bus. I don't even know if you have seats in it. But if I'm going to ride on your bus, I want to know how many seats, who sits where, and now we can start to create the energy bus that you need where the right people get in the right seats. So I want you guys to do this. Pull out your phone today, like right now, if you don't mind, and just humor me. Take your phone, put it right over this QR code. And I'm just curious, of all the people watching this webinar, open up the QR code and say, our function accountability chart is clear, it's complete, and constantly updated. Scale from 1 to 10. It's weak or it's really strong. I'm just curious. So put a little score in there and then hit send. And of the people watching, we'll be able to see. So I appreciate your participation. I'm just curious how many people have an org chart in place that's clear and it's constantly being updated. I'll give you about 60 more seconds here. All right, so the average score is about 3.2, and it's changing by the second here. All right, of all the people that have voted, average score, 3.2, well, 3.4, it's going up a little bit. All right, good. Give yourself a pat on the back. So as you can see, we got some work to do. Now, we're not looking for perfect, we're just looking for progress. So this is a great place to start. Wherever you're at, let's make some improvements. Now, it's not about having bosses. It's about functional heads. Who's responsible for all of these things? And so you want to make sure who's responsible for the functions. And as we construct the accountability chart, a few words of caution. Create the structure first. Don't try to take what you have and make it work. This is what you need long term. Now we're going to start evaluating how we grow people into that, or we find people that we don't have yet. And then once you have the structure right, we're going to start putting the right people in the right seats. And the other thing I want you to consider is, does this person have this unique ability? Now, I want to jump ahead to the conditions because this is one of the most important pieces. Actually, I want to talk about core values. And the key piece before we get into how we put people in the right seats is we have to have our core values in place. Now, if you've been on anything that we talk about, I'm a big fan of core values. They're the non-negotiable behaviors of how people come to work. But here by poll, you guys pull out your phone. You should be at this page already. If you're not, use the QR code. How many of you that are listening to this webinar right now have clear core values and you use them in hiring, reviewing, and rewarding and firing, and they're important to you? You talk about them all the time. Just by show of hands or show of rating, how many of you have those written in place? So average score is 3.2, Cheney 3.4. So keep chiming in while I add one more thing. I would say this: if you're watching this webinar and you want some to-do lists, I'm going to give them to you straight. Here they are. Number one, you got to create a function accountability chart. What does your dream practice look like? And what are the roles? Number two, got to have a core values logo. Something that clearly screams, this is who we are. Now, don't make them lofty or too weird or too wordy. They're just the non-negotiable behaviors that you want to experience at work. It's how we do what we do. They guide your decision-making, good, bad, or indifferent. When you have bad things that happen, just go, what are my core values? It's the, Chris, how do we refer to it? In your operations manual, it's the, oh no, one page. It's pretty much the only page you need. When bad things go wrong, just go, what are my core values? When you stick to your core values, you're always going to be okay.
Right. I love how Jenny, another one of our coaches, always gives me the visualization of, imagine that your core values are just another person in the room while you're making your decision. And so anything that you're going to make a decision about, whether it is about the people or even about decisions about patients, or, even big picture thinking about the hours or the procedures that you're going to do, or whether you're going to take insurance, all of that stuff always can come back down and be filtered through the core values of the practice. And especially when you're in the midst of having hiring issues or team issues, always go back and see, am I clear about my core values? If I'm struggling with keeping people and having high turnover, have I been clear about what it is I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Have I communicated what those core values are?
Right. And I love that. I love the way you said that. And that's a really good accountability piece to what your core values are. And let me just say this, in addition to what Chris just said brilliantly, your vision and your mission are critically important, but nothing, and I mean nothing, ever you will ever do in business will ever top like your core values. Your team members on Friday nights will have a glass of wine with their neighbors. They will not share their vision. They will not share the mission of the practice. They will talk about how special the person is that they work for. They'll say, I work for an amazing dentist, but she's an even better human being because she has these things called core values. I wear tonight I'm wearing my U t-shirt, but I often wear my core values t-shirt around my little town, Whitefish Bay, and my buddies are like, oh, it's so cool. You got core values. Wish our company had some of those. And it's true. The biggest companies in the world, the biggest brands. Have you guys ever eaten at this one? Why don't you ask anybody that's ever worked here, how important are core values? They won't go, they're kind of important. No, they drive all their decision-making. 61,000 employees eat, breathe, and sleep these core values about making the world. They don't serve fast food. They make the world a better place. So it's critically important. And 57,000 employees that work at this great company eat, breathe, and sleep 3 or 4 really good core values. So our core values important. They're critically important. So let's start putting them in the right seats. Remember, here's your treatment plan for tonight. I want you to get clear about what you want to do. Number 2, create an org chart. Do what I do. You don't want to do what I do, but I'm going to say this. Make your life simple. I'm 50. I'm getting ready to be 51. I don't want to be thinking about 90 things. I want to be thinking about having fun. And so when I pull this out, I'm just thinking, what are we doing? Let's stick to the paper. Let's get this done well. Let's get our core values in place, and let's find the right people, put them in the right seats, and let's support the heck out of them. But the right seats are just this. They've got a skill, a unique ability. I've told them where they're going to go. And their core values fit our core values. Now you got the right person in the right seat. Here's a great, well, it's not a great book. I should fix that. Like, this is a good phrase. It's not a good book. I actually read the whole book and I was like, it's just one phrase. So don't read the book. I'll tell you what's in the book. Okay. But Dan Sullivan, who's a great coach of mine, said this: stop trying to figure out the how. Just try to find the who. And I found that to be true, because a who can do this way better than you can trying to figure out the how. When you find a great chairside assistant, the who, she does it way better than you. When you find a great administrative person and she comes to all the ACT events, she's now your who forever. She knows things you'll never know. So same thing in hygiene. Make sure you're always trying to find the right who's. Don't try to figure out how. So here's my question for you tonight. Stop asking yourself, how do I achieve this goal? Spend the rest of your life asking yourself a better question. Who can help me achieve this? Because when I find the right person, it's going to free up my brain space, and they're going to enjoy doing what I hate, and they're going to do it better than I can do it. So the right people are this. Here's where it all comes together. It's this. They share your core values. So let me be really clear. The right people, they believe the same things that you believe. When people don't care about the same things that you care about, they're not bad people. They just don't care about the same things that you care about. Let me remind you, your favorite patients, your favorite friends, your favorite people you'll ever employ, they care about the same things that you care about. I'll say one more thing. When your core values don't line up with another human being, it never, ever, 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 ever works. It will break and it will fail at some. When two people get married and they don't share the same core values, it will fail. It's just a question of when. When two partners get together, they don't have the same core values, it fails. You have to care about the same things that you have to tell people what you care about, which attracts other people that care about the same things. The wrong people, they're not bad people. They just don't share your value system. They're not into this whole we before me. They're into the me before we. No, this is me. Now, it's, again, one of those things you just have to be clear about. So of all the people in your organization, take a look at your phone real quick. Are the right people, which means they fit your culture and share your core values. Like when you take a look at your core values, how many of these people are your right people? Would you say 1? Yeah, we're weak in that. 5, we're strong. Give us a score. Let me know. Because I'll tell you, the more you have the right people, they share your core values, you're always going to do better. Now your challenge is just, how do we find out who they are? Some people are really good at some things. Invest the time. If you can't do it yourself, there's personality tests like DISC or, strengths finders, or there's so many of them where people can learn about themselves, and you can too as an employer. It's so cool when you send a message to a team member, I'm invested in you. We're going to find out what you're good at. We're going to find a home for you. And they're going to shine when you have the right people. So the average score is 3.8. Good for you. For the most part, most of you have the right people in your practice. Now, the right seat is this. They GWC. So we're going to finish with this. Now, this is from the book Traction, and I love it. So please write this down. They get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it. Now, I'm going to go through each one of them. Number 1, when somebody's the right seat, they totally understand what you're talking about. They often understand it way better than you do. Like they know more of what you're talking about than you do. They get it. Now, there are some people that you're like, you'd be so good at this. Like you should do this. And they go, huh? Like, I don't. Now you can invest the time, and that's what I'm going to encourage you to do. But once you get to a certain point where they don't get it, now you have to make a decision. And my suggestion is we're going to move them to the seat where they get it. They want it is number 2. There are some people that totally get it, but they don't want it. I don't want that stress. I'm a mom right now. I got my hands full. I got other things I want to invest in. I don't want this job. And that does happen. So you got to make sure that you check in. Do they want it? And number 3, do they have the capacity? Do they have the time to do it? Do they have the skill set to do it? Some jobs require really analytical skill sets. Some of them require a little bit more, interpersonal skill sets. The cool part is you can identify who you want in these roles. And so one of my favorite dentists of all time, his name's Dr. Frank Graziano in Tuckahoe, New York. He did this without even the system. He said, Kirk, you know what I did for hiring? I would always think about the person that I would want in this role. How do they behave? Like, do our core values match up? What do they even look like? How do they talk? What are they really good at? So that when I meet them, I go, I've already met you. I already know what you look like. And for the most part, we've been looking for each other for a while. And I really like how he says that. So you got to really visualize what that is. The wrong seed is they're not bad people. They don't get it. They don't understand the role. They don't want the role. Sometimes you get people from dentistry that know a lot about dentistry, but they don't understand your type of dentistry. The fact you want to go to a behavioral dentistry, a little bit more of a comprehensive, that's okay. Doesn't mean they're bad. They might not get it. They don't want it. Or they just don't have the brain space or the skill set to do it. Doesn't make it bad, doesn't make it wrong. It's your chance. Now, one last poll, and then we're going to wrap this up in just a couple of minutes. I already asked you, do you have the right people? But when you look at the next question, we're talking about right people in the right seats. How many of you have people in the right seats? Which means they get it, they want it, and they have the capacity to do it. Scale from 1 to 5. 1, we're kind of weak in that area. 5, we're really strong. I appreciate you guys chiming in because I'm always curious what you're experiencing. So as you can see, these scores are just a little bit lower than the others. Now, I would say this, and I said it earlier, it's not your team members' problems. It's the business owner's problems first. The business owner has to get clear about what the bus looks like. Now you can start growing people into the seats. And I'll tell you, most of your team members want the opportunity to grow. If you're listening to a webinar at 7:45 on a Wednesday night like this, Central Time, I can already tell you care about your practice. You're here because you want to learn and improve your practice. And I can guess you've attracted people like that to your office. So don't lose that opportunity. Invest in them. Invest in yourself. Invest in your practice. And so again, let me review. This is how you get the right people in the right seats. Number 1, I want you to have this. Create a chart. I don't care if it's an envelope of what your practice looks like. Get your practice on a plan. And if you struggle with this, Chris, myself, Angela, any of the coaches, we can help you with a simple plan. And if you need help coaching with it, we can help you with that too. Now we're going to go to work on each one of the seats and evaluate each one. Is this the wrong person in the wrong seat? Obviously, if you have the wrong person in the wrong seat, I'm a coach. My job is not to tell you to fire anybody. You just got to grow up and be a leader. Now, you know what's going to happen. You keep that person in the seat for that too long, just bad things happen. The second condition we talked about, you have a great team member. They're amazing, but they're not the right person, and they're sucking the life out of you and everybody else in the practice. You already know what has to happen with that person. You don't let them go. I would sit them down, and I would do the 3-strike rule. And I'm going to give you that as my final tip, and then we're done. So don't fire people. That's not what I'm suggesting. Give them a chance to succeed. The third condition happens a lot too. You got a great person, but they're just not built for this position. My suggestion is help them find a home in your practice, because most times you can. And then ultimately, the more percentage shots you can put in this quadrant, I'm going to tell you, Pete was right. The more people that you have in these seats in that quadrant, you're going to produce twice as much in half the time with a quarter stress. I can promise you. And you won't even know why. Chris, you have a thought on this before we bring it home?
Again, I'll go back to the stress piece as being probably the most important piece of that, right? Because we have doctors all the time that say to us, look, I'm happy with the income I had. I either want to work less or I want to, do more comprehensive dentistry or drop my insurance. But really, when you think about the stress factor, that's what Sunday night comes around and you start getting like your shoulders go up to your ears, it's because you're stressed about the people that you're working with.
Yeah.
So, give them the opportunity, like you said, Kirk, and find the right seat for them. But have courageous conversations and be a leader, be vulnerable about it, and, take responsibility for that.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think about what you said, and it's actually, that's pretty huge what you just said. And I've been in that position. And if you're a dentist listening tonight, you know that's true. If you have a bus and you have 8 team members, you've got 8 wheels and you've got one squeaky wheel, you're not worried about the 7 wheels. You're consumed by the one squeaky wheel that isn't making this thing ride well. Don't let that happen. Give that person an opportunity to grow or grow out or grow somewhere else. Now, I'm going to finish with one last slide in this because I could talk for hours on this. And I got this straight from the book Traction, which I love. And so I'm not going to take any credit for this because it's so good and it is so spot on. When you have somebody that's not the right fit for you, whether it be the wrong person in the right seat, or even the wrong person in the wrong seat, or even the right person in the wrong seat, this is less applicable to that person. But here's what I would say. Create a system that is consistent. Give everybody the chance to win. And what you're going to do is you're going to do 3 strikes. Number 1, call it strike 1. Sit down with the team member. You owe it to them to be honest. Don't be nice. Be clear. I'm not asking you to be mean, just be clear. Discuss the issues and your expectations. Be super clear with the person and give him or her 30 days to win. Give them a chance to win. Say, look, this is what I need in this role. How you talked to her yesterday, that is out of bounds of our core values. That can't happen here. Now, I understand if you don't want to live by our core values, but that means you can't work here. I'm going to give you 30 days. I believe in you. You can't do that to another human being here. You got to play by our core values. We good? Strike 2 is this. At the end of 30 days, actually schedule the appointment. So as soon as you have the first appointment, you're scheduling the second one, which is exactly 30 days. Say in 30 days, we're just going to review what we talked about today. And if you don't see any improvement, discuss his or her performance one more time and say, I shared this 30 days ago. I was super clear. This is what I want. This is what I want. It's not happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you another 30 days. Now, some of you might be like, what? What are you talking about? No, you're giving them a second opportunity to win. But I'll tell you why in a second. Strike 3 is if you don't see any improvement in that second 30 days, you already know when you can't change the people, it's time to change the people. They are clearly making a statement with their behavior and their effort. I'm not doing this. And I'll tell you, 99% of the time, you don't even need strike 3. They already know it's coming. They already know this isn't a good place for them. And I'd say 99.999% of times, they're looking for another job. And I could almost guarantee it. Now, it's not good, bad, or indifferent, but here's why you're going to have this rule. It's consistent. You want to make sure you don't tolerate behavior that's not consistent with where you want to go in your future. And you'll find the clearer you get, the less you have to do this in your career. So my hope is that you do find the right people in the right seats. And I'll finish with the first slide. And it's this. Every day I hear this great man's voice. And he's so spot on. And I don't even think he knows or knew why he was spot on. He just worked with that many dentists and that many dental offices. And Pete, I'm here to say you were spot on and we're grateful for you. When you have the right people, you can produce twice as much in half the time with the quarter stress. So I hope you guys enjoyed tonight. But what's more important is I hope you do something with tonight. We're always here for you. My name is Kirk Behrendt, Christina Byrne, Angela Heffman. She was on and I think she jumped off. But we're a team of coaches. We're here to help you. And I will assure you that you are okay in dentistry. You got a great support team here. We get the right people in the right seats. It makes this a fun journey. Chris, any last thoughts?
I'm just glad that people came out to pay attention and hear what we had to say. And somebody asked in the chat if we have like placement service, which we don't do, but what we do is help our clients with resources for hiring people, for screening people, for onboarding, and making sure that that once you have the people, we can help you to get them in the right seat and make sure that they align with your core values and create the culture that you're looking for.
Yeah. Awesome. Well said, Chris. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys have a great evening. Make sure you join us this Friday at Act Dental U. If you're available, we have Katrina Sanders. You will absolutely love it. And she's going to be talking about local anesthesia. And we've already had a bunch of people register, new people come on in. So again, we're here to help in any way that we can. Hope you guys have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.